Take a deep breath in. And as you breathe in that light, free feeling of relaxation. And as you exhale, just allow yourself to let go. Not just of stress or tension, but allow yourself to let go gradually, breath by breath, of old ideas. That when you breathe in, there's a light, a wonderful feeling of relaxation and energy. But more importantly, imagine breathing in clarity. Not to see things as they were, but to see things as they are. As you breathe in that clarity, feel that you're letting go of old ideas, old perspectives. Breathe in and breathe out. And I want you to think of a very specific, perhaps, childhood friend. Maybe a childhood friend that started smoking when they were young, maybe just a teenager. And I want you to think what it gave them then. Maybe significance, a feeling of rebellion, a sense of being cool, acceptance into certain groups. But then just imagine that all those things that it gave them then as a teenager, fast forward and imagine them as just an old smoker with polluted lungs. I want you to get a sense that there is no rebelliousness, no coolness, no exclusivity. What perhaps made sense for a 14 or 15-year-old would be the kind of thing that doesn't make any sense as they get older. I want you to think about you having that very first experience of alcohol. Just imagine as you breathe in and breathe out, going back in time as you are, observing that younger version of you, having your very first experience with alcohol. Or maybe the first evening that you partied and alcohol was the catalyst of fun times. Just be the observer. Maybe there was feelings of confidence that you'd never experienced before. Inhibitions were lost. A feeling of euphoria or freedom. I want you to observe and evaluate all the things it gave you back then in the early days. Maybe those things were perceptions, or maybe they were real, but just observe. And maybe there's a part of you that was chasing those early feelings, or maybe those good times throughout your 20s. As you breathe in and breathe out, just feel yourself going deeper and deeper relaxed, releasing any tension in the forehead, jaw, neck and shoulders, drifting off as you continue to observe your journey, almost like a tree with time-lapse photography, that you could imagine 100-year tree going from a sapling to an old tree in the matter of minutes. I want you to see your life as a drinker. The first experience, those good times, good connections, celebrations of successes. Maybe it helped going through tough times. Just observe as you see your life going through years in seconds. And I want you to see a story of ever-increasing diminishing returns. That there was a time that alcohol gave more than it took. And maybe that time was in your 20s. But I want you to see how, as the years went by, you got less and less and it took more and more. And part of you were chasing those emotions from your 20s, but they were fewer and further between. And maybe see that in recent times, alcohol has been taking so much and giving so little. And I wonder, if alcohol was a friend, would you keep that friendship? If alcohol was an investment, would you keep that asset? Maybe what once was a booster is now a parasite. There was a time it gave, and now it takes and takes and takes. And the question is, do you continue to allow it to take? I want you to think of some land in a location. Just imagine floating up outside of your body, floating up above some land that, when you first look at it, looks valuable and desirable, appealing, so much potential. But I want you to use your knowledge and know that all that glitters is not gold. That sometimes on the surface, a good deal is a really bad deal. And maybe you could imagine this land from above like a bird gliding over. And just imagine you're floating over this land. And I wonder if alcohol to you for a while seemed to be a good choice, not because of what it is, but because of what it was. I want you to think of maybe the early 2000s. There was a time it made sense to buy shares in companies like Yahoo. There was a time that was a great trade. And yet now, I want you to think of certain parts of the country or the world, certain cities that were once flourishing. Buying a property in that city at that time would have been an excellent choice. And yet now, an awful decision. And if your unconscious is starting to reevaluate alcohol, not as it was, but as it is now. If your unconscious is able to evaluate that alcohol now takes more than it gives, let me know by nodding your head. And I wonder how you would feel if that last drink was your last drink. Because when something takes more than it gives, you don't feel that you've lost something. You feel that you've escaped something. If the feeling is freedom, then you've escaped. If the feeling is loss, then you still value that thing. But maybe what you value is not what it is, but what it was. A mirage, an echo of the past. So I want you to think of what alcohol is for you now. As you breathe in that clarity and breathe out those echoes of the past, if your unconscious is willing to reevaluate, knowing what you now know. If you would decide that your last drink was your last drink, let me know by nodding your head. And as you hold that thought, locate that feeling of freedom within you. As you start to imagine what it would feel like to feel that a friend that you thought was a true friend was actually secretly stealing from you for so long. But if you realized they were taking so much, isn't it the case that if you no longer had that relationship anymore, you would feel free? Allow that feeling of freedom to grow within you. And I want you to start thinking about your future as you want it to be. Breathe in and breathe out, and as you relax deeply, you begin to realize that alcohol no longer serves you, and that your last drink was indeed your very last drink. You understand that alcohol impedes your ability to feel fantastic, taking more from you than it ever gives. So with each breath, you embrace the truth that alcohol dulls your senses and robs you of the joy and clarity that you truly deserve. If you no longer believe that drinking enhances your feelings of happiness, and instead you see how it diminishes your ability to feel fantastic, let me know by nodding your head. As you reflect on your life, you start to recognize that alcohol is simply a bad trade, offering temporary relief at the cost of your long-term well-being. And I wonder that if you fully believed that good planning and delegation are far more effective in managing stress and overwhelm than alcohol could ever be, is starting to take root. I wonder what would happen if you decided that because your last drink was your last drink, you are already a non-drinker. And therefore the idea of drinking again only comes with the understanding that it would be with thorough consideration, due diligence, where knowing what you now know, you believe that alcohol gives more than it takes. But if you can't come to the conclusion that alcohol gives more than it takes, then it would make sense to walk away from that trade and continue to be that non-drinker. start to feel a growing sense of freedom as you realize that there are countless ways to improve your mood. And alcohol, even if it's not at the bottom of that list, is certainly very far down it. Notice how you're starting to feel different already, as you understand that alcohol is not an antidote to stress, to sadness or overwhelm. Instead, it often amplifies these feelings and brings more harm than help. As a non-drinker, each day you grow more confident in your decision to be a non-drinker, knowing that your life is richer and more fulfilling without alcohol. So trust that your last drink was your final drink. And now embrace a life of clarity, serenity, and creativity without alcohol. And feel empowered to invest in activities that truly enhance your mood, like spending time with friends, exercising, or maybe learning something new. The harder you try to get to this idea that drinking is appealing, the more elusive it becomes, as you can't help but arrive at the conclusion that it's just a bad deal, a bad trade. That if it was a property, you would walk away. If it was an investment, you'd let it slide. In fact, the harder you try and find alcohol appealing, the less appealing it becomes. So try now. Try as hard as you can to feel that alcohol is appealing. Try and find evidence that it does make life more fantastic, that it does actually help with overwhelm, that it is the key ingredient to make sadness turn into happiness. And notice the harder you look for evidence, the more evidence to the contrary seems to intrude in your mind. You see alcohol for what it is: a false promise that takes more than it gives, more often than not leaving you feeling less than your best. And without it, your mind is clear and focused, allowing you to handle challenges with grace and creativity without the need for alcohol. And as you continue to relax, you feel a deep sense of certainty that your decision to be a non-drinker is the right one, not for your current well-being, but for the optimal future for you. So breathe in and breathe out and start to imagine that future. Imagine a future of clarity, serenity, and creativity. See that future version of you being free of all of those old beliefs of alcohol that weren't true. See you with more time, more resources, and see the benefits of perhaps 3, 4, or even 5 years of creativity, playing to your strengths. And if you can see a radical, magnificent future, let me know by nodding your head. And try and imagine that same future with alcohol being ever present. And if it's the case that alcohol being there impedes your ability to have a desirable future, then doesn't it mean that it is that false promise all along? That friend never wanted you to do well. They were secretly holding you back. I want you to feel that you were betrayed by alcohol. It promised so much but delivered so little. It took more than it gave. And feel free that you finally come to your senses and have seen it for what it truly is. As you fully embrace the fact that alcohol was never the solution, but rather the problem. And if you now choose to live a life of joy, creativity, and serenity, then let me know by nodding your head. That's it. Just allow all of those changes to take place, particularly the identity. The identity that alcohol is fun, that you're more fun with alcohol. Allow all of that nonsense to dissolve as you embrace a new identity, that the optimal, most creative, most in control, most authentic version of you is without alcohol. And when your identity is updated, let me know by nodding your head. Find yourself there floating over that land that seemed to be so desirable and yet offered so little. And start to feel like you're floating back to your present body, but with all of these new beliefs and identity shifts coming back with you, particularly the identity that you are a non-drinker. And you could always decide to drink again whenever, after due diligence, it makes sense to. Take a deep breath in through your nose and out through your nose. Just wiggle your fingers and wiggle your toes. Connect fully with the present moment as I now count from 1 to 10 to awaken you. Starting to count. 1, 2, 3, waking up. 4, 5, 6, more alert. 7, 8, open your eyes, open your eyes. 9, 10, wide awake, wide awake, wide awake.